Brady Tkachuk and scores!
Shabbat curled and drives and scores!
And the Senators win it.
Five apart, another chance, Matheson scores! Drake Matheson, and dropped it. Green, Green again, scores!
Welcome to Sens Talk. My name is Brandon, and I'm your host. Now, before we get started, please follow us on Twitter at @SensTalk_ and on Instagram at SensTalk. Now, today, it's going to be part one of a three-part series of the Ottawa Senators season in review. Today, we're going to look at the forward group, in the coming days, the defenseman group, and then after that, the goaltending group. But like I just said, today, we're going to focus on the forwards. But before we get into today's review video, a few things. Firstly, question for you, the fans. Comment below right now and let me know what you think. Which Ottawa Senators forward impressed you the most this season? Comment below right now with your response. I look forward to reading and responding to all the comments down below in the comments section. As well, use the promo code SENSTALK on SeatGeek.com to save $20 off your first purchase. It's a great deal. Make sure to take advantage of that today. As well, we are honored to be sponsored by the premier culture magazine in Ottawa, Faces Magazine. Make sure to check out the new May issue from Faces Magazine today. Magazines are offered for free in grocery stores and select locations across Ottawa. And this month's issue features a cover interview with Senators legend Mark Methot. Also in this issue, Mark is joined with Brent Wallace as they discuss their new hit show, The Wally Methot Show. If you're not convinced yet, the May issue also has features in Gord Wilson, Macon Chayka, and Alex Medias of the Ottawa Redblacks. Also, do not forget to follow Faces on their social channels for great content, crazy contests, and more. That's at Faces Ottawa for their Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook pages. Now, I want to give a little bit of a guidelines for today's review. If a player played less than 5 games during the season, like a Galchenyuk, or a Mike Amadio, a Clark Bishop, a Vitaly Abramov, a Parker Kelly, they will not be included in today's review video because one, a guy like Alex Galchenyuk is not even on the Ottawa Senators roster anymore, and two, if you played 5 games or less, you cannot get an accurate assessment on how they did this season. So if you played 5 games or less, you will not be included. I'm really just looking at the players that were primarily on the starting roster for your Ottawa Senators for majority of the season. Now with that, let's get into today's video. Firstly, starting with the future captain, hopefully, of the Ottawa Senators, Brady Tkachuk. This season, in 56 games played all the games this season, not one game missed with an injury. He had 17 goals, 19 assists, and 36 points in 56 games played. Now, he is 21 years old, and as we all know, his rookie contract just expired this season, so he is going to be hopefully extended long-term this summer, but he will be signing at least a 1-year deal as he is an RFA, so he will be with Ottawa next year, hopefully for much more than 1 year. We don't want another Mark Stone situation. But with Brady Tkachuk, on the ice, he is one of the first players, if not the first player in the National Hockey League, I believe, to get 300 shots and 300 hits in one season. So he's a workhorse out there. Every single game, he's doing something. If he's not scoring, he's fighting. If he's not fighting, he's hitting. If he's not hitting, he's putting pucks on net and jamming the puck into the back of the net. He's such an electric player. He's an energy player, and he's a player that any team in the National Hockey League would want. Now, what has impressed me most of his season is not his on-ice production, which is always impressive. It's his off-ice leadership and how that his leadership has clearly developed this season. He's clearly the face of the franchise and clearly the voice of the locker room. So, Brady Tkachuk, sure, his on-ice production is great, and he's definitely a top winger on this team. His off-ice leadership has really impressed me this season, and that's what's been most notable to me, is how he's matured so quickly at the age of 21. Not many 21-year-olds are as mature as a Brady Tkachuk. This guy already sounds like a seasoned vet, and he's only going to get better with age on the off-ice side of things and on the on-ice side of things. So a great season for Brady Tkachuk, and hopefully next season we can see a beautiful C on his chest. Now, moving on to Evgeny Dadonov, who came in from Florida last year. Now, last year with Florida, before this season with Ottawa, Evgeny Dadonov was known as a power play specialist. He scored a lot on that power play with Florida. Now, with Ottawa, not the same. Now, in 55 games played, 13 goals, 7 assists, 20 points for Evgeny Dadonov. 1 assist, 1 measly assist on the power play for Evgeny Dadonov. I believe it was like mid-January against Vancouver, that 1 assist. A terrible season for Evgeny Dadonov, in my opinion. I think he will bounce back next year. He has 2 years left at $5 million per year. He's 32 years old. I think he will bounce back next year. He's too good of a player to not play well. But that being said, the power play woes are a little concerning to me. 1 assist. He was brought here as a power play specialist and got less points than like a Connor Brown on the power play. So it's a little concerning, but I think next year in a full season, now that he knows the system, he's more comfortable with the team. I think next year he will rebound nicely. But it is something to watch because, look, Evgeny Dadonov, he was easily pushed off his edges a lot, always fell on the ice. Just not a strong season for him. He needs to work on his, firstly, I think his puck protection skills needs to be improved too. He always gets knocked off the puck. But before that, to start working on the power play with the team, because you were brought here to score on the power play, and you haven't been doing that. So I think next year he will improve, but next year is a make or break year for Evgeny Dadonov, because if he doesn't do well next year, I think a trade can certainly be in the realm of possibility. Now, Colin White is also fitting that bill for a potential trade. I don't want to trade Colin White, but his 4-year, $4.75 million deal that still remains for the next 4 years definitely puts that as a potential, because this season, in 45 games played, Colin White had 10 goals, 8 assists, and 18 points. He is 24 years old, so he's a couple years away from hitting his prime, and he did deal with a lot of injuries this year. Now, I like Colin White. I think he's a perfect third-line center, or a right wing. He could also transition to a right wing role if needed, if a Ridley Gray gets called up, for example. But with Colin White, he did not have a good season. Listen, injuries definitely played a factor into that, but especially in the second half of the season, he was nearly invisible. So going into next season, look, people are talking about buyouts. People are on Twitter are talking about trades. I don't think that happens next year, but if he has another season like this season where he gets like 20-25 points in like 80 games, yeah, I think you can start considering a potential trade for Colin White, especially with Drake Batherson and Brady Tkachuk contracts kicking in next year, especially since they're expected to be big contracts. Colin White, listen, next year is a big year for Colin White. He needs to prove that he is worth that deal. I think he will. I think injuries really played a factor into his lesser numbers this season. But next year, like Dadonov, is a big year for him. Now, Artem Anisimov, at the age of 32, his contract is done. He will not be returning to the Ottawa Senators. This season with Ottawa, Anisimov had 19 games played with 9 points. 2 of those were goals. Listen, Artem Anisimov, by the way, emergency backup goaltender. He was also our goalie for one night. But for Artem Anisimov, listen, kudos to him. Whenever he played, he did contribute, to be honest. I remember a game where he had like 2 or 3 points, including a game in that game, he had 2 assists to Evgeny Dadonov. So, Artem Anisimov definitely still has a little bit left in the tank in his NHL career. I definitely think he can land somewhere as a fourth-line center. The issue with him that's holding him back is his skating. He's a slower skater, but like a Joe Thornton, I'm not comparing the two, but like a Joe Thornton, you can still see he has a dynamic hands and hockey IQ to make plays. It's just the skating is not up there with that IQ and hands, unfortunately. Now, next is Connor Brown. 56 games played this year, 21 goals, 14 assists, and 35 points. Well, hell of a breakout season for Connor Brown on a great deal for Ottawa. He's 2 years left at $3.6 million. At the age of 27, Connor Brown is hitting his prime, and he's hitting it big time. This season, a career high 21 goals. He led the league in shorthanded goals with 5, and Connor Brown started off the season with no goals in the first 10, and then in the last 46 games, compiled 21 goals. That is spectacular. So for Connor Brown, it's a breakout season for him. He's a solid third liner on any team, especially on the Ottawa Senators. The penalty kill improved immensely once him and Formenton were put together, and I expect Connor Brown to do great things. He has great speed, and he's just a versatile forward. He can be put onto your power play. He can be put onto, your penalty kill. He can be put onto your first, second, third, or fourth line. He's a great player for any team, and we're lucky to have him. Connor Brown had a great year, and I think him is huge for Ottawa because that penalty kill with him on it, it's one of the best in the league. Next goes to Ryan Dzingel, who was traded here early in the season. He played 29 games, 6 goals, 3 assists, 9 points, and he's 29 years old. His contract just expired. So this is interesting. He started off his second run around with Ottawa pretty hot. He had a good start with Ottawa, getting a few goals here and there. But after that, he really tailored off. He hasn't really contributed a lot in the last 10, 12 games of the season for Ottawa. So for Ryan Dzingel, I think he will get a contract somewhere in the National Hockey League next year. The question is it with Ottawa? I think there's a chance he's brought back as a fourth-line depth type of player. But yeah, Ryan Dzingel, listen, he started off hot. He really tailored off, but he has good speed. He doesn't really offer too much defensively, but if you want a fourth-line winger that can score or contribute a little bit offensively, Dzingel is your guy, but he's nothing more than a fourth-liner in my opinion, unfortunately. So I don't know if Ottawa re-signs him, but if they do sign him, it would be for a depth reason, and that's it. Next player I want to discuss, it's Chris Turney. Now, Chris Turney, this guy is, 19 points this season in 55 games played, 6 goals. He's 26 years old and has 1 year left at a $3.5 million cap hit. Chris Turney is a prime expansion draft target, potentially a candidate to be taken in the expansion draft by Seattle. And honestly, I'd be happy if they took him. I think Chris Turney, I'm sure he's a great person, and I don't want to crap on the guy, but his effort this season during every single game was frustrating to watch. I remember multiple occasions where he had a wide open chance and just flicked it over the net carelessly. It seems whenever Chris Turney was playing the season, he just did not look engaged, didn't look energized, or even he didn't really look like he cared. And I'm saying this because in previous seasons, Chris Turney, he was a solid third-line center, contributing 30 to 40 points in an 82-game season, playing well defensively, winning you the faceoffs. But this season, even defensively, he was a bit of a liability, to be honest. So Chris Turney, next year, I think he gets traded or he gets taken by Seattle. He will not be signed long-term with Ottawa. I think it was just a bad year for him. I don't know what was going on with him. But for Chris Turney, he could definitely play better than he did this season. And, hopefully next year he does, do better with Ottawa if he is still on the roster. But yeah, a very disappointing season for Chris Turney, especially considering, we don't expect much from a third-line center, but when a third-line center disappoints you, like a lot of Sens Twitter would agree with me, I think, and I think a lot of you guys would too, that Chris Turney disappointed, that's an issue. If you're a third-line guy or fourth-line guy, or if you're not in the top six, you need to bring energy and you need to bring something to the team every single game, and he didn't. He was kind of just out there, skating around, getting his minutes, and getting off the ice. So for Chris Turney, the energy needs to be through the roof, considering it's literally at the floor right now. Next player, and another breakout candidate, I guess, is Nick Paul, who is joining Connor Brown with Team Canada at the World Championships. Now, Nick Paul is 26 years old. He's hitting his prime. He has 1 year left at $1.35 million on his contract. In all games this season, 56 games played, he had 5 goals, 15 assists, and 20 points. Now, for Nick Paul, that may, especially after talking about Chris Turney with 19 points, Nick Paul with 20, you may be like, well, Brandon, they got the same amount of points, so what are you about to say here? Well, I'll tell you this. With Nick Paul, the points don't matter because he is such an effective forward on the third, fourth line. And that's what I just said with Chris Turney. If you're in the bottom six, you need to contribute energy. You need to contribute hits. You need to contribute something that's not just scoring. That's what the top six is for. So what Nick Paul did, if he wasn't scoring, which wasn't often, he was contributing, stealing the puck. He was a hell of a player with Connor Brown on the penalty kill, stealing the puck and creating numerous 2-on-1 chances. Great passer, great energy, always in the right spots to pick the puck off of somebody else. So he's sort of like a lesser version of Mark Stone, to be honest. Obviously he's not elite like a Mark Stone, but when it comes to the defensive side of things, he has a lot of Mark Stone in him. He steals the puck. He's an energy type of player, and every single game he's a workhorse out there. You gotta fight to get the puck off of Nick Paul. He's a horse out there. So for Nick Paul, it was a great season. He's literally exactly what you want on the third line of your team. Him with Connor Brown. You got the defensive side of things with Nick Paul, who can contribute a little bit offensively, and then with Connor Brown, you got that scoring touch, who can also contribute defensively too. So that third line solid, and that is because of Nick Paul and Connor Brown's season. That's why that third line for Ottawa is so solid this year. But yeah, Nick Paul, a breakout season for sure. He's continuing his success from last season to this season, and then next season, ooh baby. If I was Ottawa with 1 year left, I would sign him to a 3-4 year deal this summer, in my opinion, before he demands a lot more than $1.35 million. Now the next player, it's Tim Stützle. Hell of a season for him, especially as a rookie. In 53 games played this year, he had 12 goals, 17 assists, and 29 points. He's 19 years old. He's 2 years left on his entry-level deal. So Tim Stützle, you know what? Every single game, he looked like he fit in the National Hockey League. There was a few shifts every single game where he was like, holy cow, this guy is electric. Creating great plays, great hockey IQ, and setting up plays where he's every single game, it's just, there's a play where like, holy cow, that is just superstar level stuff. And he's a rookie at the age of 19 doing these type of things. So for Tim Stützle, this season was an immense success. 29 points. If you put that in an 82 game season instead of 53 games for him, you're looking at potentially 35 to 45 points. For a rookie, that is spectacular, and especially on a team like Ottawa, for most of the season was on the bottom of the division standings. So Tim Stützle is only going to get better with age, and this is a great start for his NHL career. I look forward to seeing what he can do next year with Ottawa. This guy's the limit for this kid. Now, Josh Norris, this has probably been one of the most surprising players, in my opinion, this season for Ottawa. Norris, 56 games played. All games he played, did not miss one. He had 17 goals, 18 assists, and 35 points in the 56 games played. He has 1 year left on his entry-level deal. He is 22 years old. And Josh Norris, sure, the stats, they're great. But what impressed me the most about Josh Norris is the fact he was able to line up against an Austin Matthews. But the fact that he can line up against a guy like a Connor McDavid, a Leon Draisaitl. He was the #1 Ottawa Senators center throughout the entire season, and he's a rookie. So what impressed me the most, sure, he contributed offensively, sure, he scored, sure, he did this, he did that, but he played and he defended really, really well against a McDavid, against an Austin Matthews. His two-way game really impressed me this season, and that's the biggest takeaway this season, in my opinion, from Josh Norris is, hey, we got a player here that can match up against some of the league's best forwards. So for Josh Norris, he really impressed me. Sure, the stats are great. I'll say it again. I can say this 1,000 times. He reminds me of a Mike Fisher, a Kyle Turris, but better. I think this kid's going to be electric. He could potentially even be the #1 center of the future for the Ottawa Senators. He's just a calming presence there. Not flashy, but but he gets the job done, and he's really, especially on the power play, on that right hash mark zone, I spoke about it multiple times in game recaps this season. Josh Norris commands the power play. You know, most teams, they have the power play moving around from the blue line from the defender, but a lot of the power play moved around from Josh Norris on the right hash mark. So it shows his hockey IQ there too. He, at a young age, he was able to really quarterback sort of the Ottawa Senators power play when on the ice. Now the next player is Shane Pinto. In 12 games this season, he had 7 points, including 1 goal, 6 assists. He's 20 years old and 2 years left on his entry-level deal. Shane Pinto, what's most impressive, I believe he had above 55% save percentage, face-off percentage in the National Hockey League this season. As a rookie, that's immense, but he's also bringing in that face-off percentage success that he had at UND to Ottawa, where he had like a 60-something face-off percentage with UND in North Dakota. He had like a 55-60 face-off percentage with Ottawa as well, which is what's most impressive to me. A rookie is not supposed to win 6 out of 10 face-offs, all right? You're not supposed to do that as a rookie, and he did. On top of that, 7 points in 12 games. That is electric, especially as a center, contributing 6 apples. Hell of a season for Shane Pinto, and he's only going to get better too. He's going to make the team next year. I don't see how he wouldn't, barring some tragedy. So for Shane Pinto, listen, this guy, you know, he could potentially be the #1 center of the future too. I think right now that's Josh Norris, but he could definitely compete for it. But defensively, he's really good, of course, winning those faceoffs. He's always getting in their other team's face. You know, he's a chippy type of player, which I love to see. But more importantly, he wins those faceoffs, and he contributes offensively too at a young age. So, you know, every single game, Shane Pinto, like a Nick Paul too, he's also stealing the puck a lot, and he really commands down the ice. Especially as a rookie, he's really good in the center ice. He commands the ice. He knows what he's doing. He has a good visual of what's going on. He's good hockey IQ. So for Shane Pinto, you know, he's only going to get better, and I look forward to seeing him next season in a full season because, you know, he didn't have any, you know, bumps in the road this season with Ottawa. So I want to see how he responds to a bump in the road next season and how he responds through that adversity. Next player is Alex Formenton. Now, Formenton was electric on that penalty kill with Nick Paul and Connor Brown. In 20 games played, he had 6 points, 4 goals, 2 assists. Alex Formenton, he didn't contribute immensely when it came to points, but at 21 years old, with a year left on his entry-level deal, Alex Formenton contributed a lot on the penalty kill. Multiple breakaways. I think it was like every single game, you probably get 1 or 2 Alex Formenton breakaways. It was either Formenton getting a breakaway, or it was Connor Brown getting the breakaway for the Ottawa Senators. So for Alex Formenton, his speed is literally up there with some of the best in the league. I think you could put him neck to neck with Connor McDavid when it comes to speed, like, I think he skates like 32 kilometers per hour on one of those goals. I think it was against Montreal. He reached like 32 kilometers per hour. That's Connor McDavid-esque. He's one of the best skaters in the league by far. And if you're a great skater, the rest will come. So don't worry about the offense yet. If he's a good skater, the goals will come. Do not worry. The next player, it is Drake Batherson. The Drake had a great season on that first line with the Ottawa Senators. At the age of 23, his contract just expired. So like Brady Tkachuk, this is going to be an interesting one for Ottawa, as who knows? Will Ottawa sign him to a long-term deal, or will they give him a bridge deal? We shall see. I would sign him to a 4 to 5 year deal. Or more, to be honest, if I'm Ottawa, maybe even 6 to 7 years. This guy is legit. 17 goals, 17 assists, even slate there. And with Drake Batherson, he has an electric shot, just a lethal shot, like a Mike Hoffman-esque type of shot there for the Ottawa Senators. So for Drake Batherson, what's most impressive, of course, his shot and everything is great, but the size of this kid is immense. Like a Nick Paul, you can't push him off the puck. It's really hard to take the puck off of a Drake Batherson. So for him, the way he developed and, you know, the size that he got during his offseason training going into the season really paid dividends for his career. And he's definitely going to get a payday because of that, because he's a big guy and he can score. And that's not common in the National Hockey League. If you're a sniper, you're usually a little frailer, but Drake Batherson, he can hold his own. He's a bigger guy. Now, speaking of holding their own, the final player I'm going to talk about is Austin Watson. In 34 games played, he had 3 goals, 7 assists, and 10 points. Unfortunately, broke his hand midway through the season. But at 29 years old, he has 2 years left at $1.5 million on his contract. For Austin Watson, he's the ultimate warrior for your team. You know, he can block shots. You know, he's great on the penalty kill, and he's a perfect fourth-line energy type of guy, and he's a good leader too. So for Austin Watson, you know, the players seem to love him. And more importantly, the coaches seem to love him. They trust him, and I think I'm inclined to agree with the coaches, because this guy broke his hand because he was doing what he does multiple times a game, lying on the ice, blocking a shot. So Austin Watson, sure, he, you know, unfortunately missed half the season, but next season, I think a lot of people forgot about this guy. He's going to be on that fourth-line right-wing role, and he's going to do a great job there defending and blocking those shots. Now, besides that, that's it. We're 18 minutes in, so we're going to call it there. So besides that, thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll see you in the next one very, very soon. We should have another Stonks episode with Noah Luden within the coming days. A full season review from his perspective of things. So stay tuned for that. And in the coming days as well, we'll have another episode of the Sens season review where we'll discuss the defensemen on the Ottawa Senators. But besides that, thank you all for watching. Make sure to like this video, share this video with Circle Stuff, and click the big red button down there and subscribe to us. And most importantly of all, turn the notification bell on so you get notified whenever we upload a new video. Besides that, thank you all for watching. I appreciate the support. Go Sens go.